Hey everybody, it's Thursday. Oh, look at that.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for being here with us.
Yep. Oh, turn the comments on, Josh.
That is true. So thanks to those of you who are joining us from wherever you guys are. Hey, Brett.
Hey, Brett.
We have been really excited for the end of ice season just because honestly, you hate to see the season end, but sometimes that late ice bite is like where it's at. With that being said, tell us about the conditions that we found.
Wet. We found water. It was very soft in some spots and very hard in other spots. Unfortunately, some of our favorite river spots were all busted up, and there was still some good fishable ice. We just could not get to it, and so we went and checked out our lakes, and the lakes held up great. Even the landings were pretty decent. Now we had some cold weather coming in this weekend, and all week it's been pretty chilly up by us. So, it's all solid up, but now they're talking mid 50s maybe by Wednesday next week. So who knows?
So for those people that are kind of in our region, we're kind of that border of northeast Wisconsin and kind of central Wisconsin. So kind of the Shauna area, if you know that. This might be one of those last few weekends for good ice fishing. I think after this, people are really going to be looking forward to getting boats out and all of that. And actually, I think there's a few people who have already done that at this point. So that's pretty crazy to think about. As far as this past weekend, we actually, like Josh was saying, the lakes held up a little bit better than the river system. So we were able to get on some fish. And actually, it's funny because all season I have not caught many bluegills. And then this whole day was just about bluegills. That was actually fabulous.
Yeah, that was really fun. And it's one of our favorite lakes. And we just don't get to it very often in the wintertime just because there's a lot of river, and quite honestly, the river is really fun. We get to talk to a lot of you guys out there. We're kind of the opposite of most anglers, that we like to fish with all kinds of people around us, and we're still very successful just because we're not targeting the same species as the other anglers most of the time on the river. And so even if we are, we've met some really cool people out there, and it's just fun atmosphere. The lakes, it's a lot more like quiet, and people don't do that. But the river people, it's all fun and games.
So on the lakes, though, what was our pattern for catching fish?
Pattern for catching fish was slow and steady wins the race. You get one or two out of a hole, slow presentation, and then hop to the next hole.
We were successful with plastics, especially kind of earlier in the day. But we were told that at this lake, because actually we had kind of a local person reach out to us, ask if we ever fish the lake. We fish it all the time in summer. They fish it all the time in winter. So we kind of joined forces, and it's been awesome. But they swore up and down that you have to have spikes. And I didn't believe it. But I will tell you, I caught more fish on spikes. So what do you know?
My fish were bigger on plastics.
Oh my gosh. But that's the debate that can go on forever. And hopefully you are out there and you get to kind of sort that out this weekend and let us know what is working for you guys, because we love hearing about that. With that, you will not see us on the ice this weekend, but you can catch us all over the place on social media, because actually we are going to be up in Minneapolis at the Northwest Sports Show. And we have never been there, and we've heard nothing but fabulous things. So we're excited for that. With that, one of our favorite things about the shows is meeting new people, talking to new people, and talking fishing. So actually, we did something a little bit different than normal. And we looked at the show list, and we looked at who the speakers were. We looked at who the people there were. And we just honestly
picked out the best presentation there. Yeah, it's going to be the best presentation. Because it's the only panfish one, and it's going to be awesome.
So, yeah, we were able to reach out to Jarrid Houston and have him on the show today. So let's bring him in and welcome.
Hey, Jarrid.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to having you up in Minneapolis. You guys are probably Packer fans, so get ready for all the purple rain that is that of the state of Minnesota. But all the same, it's a lot of fun to have visitors from the Midwest come to this show. And this, like I was mentioning off air with you guys, this is the mega. This is the Super Bowl of sports shows. This is a really, really big show.
That is awesome. And it is open water focused, right? Like a lot of us still are on ice, but we have got to kind of shift that thought process.
Yeah, it's certainly catered to the open water angler. There will be some ice fishing stuff there, of course, but for the most part, all the retailers and charters and guides and resorts, and there'll be boat manufacturers and stuff like that. It's all open water. And the seminars, which you so kindly spoke of a minute ago, those will all be open water targeted too.
That is awesome. And I hope to ask a little bit about all of that to come up. So anybody who's looking forward to the show or going to the show, I guess we might even have little sneak peeks here to give you. And it does seem like quite a few people actually, recognize you and are excited to see you here. But for those people who maybe don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a old gangster thug from Stillwater, Minnesota. Wore Janko pants, and it was baggy, and rap music was my tune. But growing up, no, just kidding. All that stuff aside, I grew up a river rat in Stillwater, Minnesota, and we started guiding in 2009. But really, it started before that with the economic downturn and having a full-time job and losing my career and having been stuck with a boat and all that stuff. How the heck are we going to pay for that stuff? And picked up a guide license, and fast forward to today, and what is that now, 13 years or something ago, we've been doing it, and just kind of blossomed into the industry, meeting good people like yourselves, and doing the networking thing, and doing it organically. There's a lot of people that come into this industry that try to jump right to the top, but honestly, the best way to do it is, people always ask me, how do you get to be on the stage at doing seminars at Northwest Sports Show and stuff like that? And the quick answer and the easiest answer is, I fish a lot, and I mean a lot. And I think anybody that's in this industry can relate to that. It has to do, you live, bleed, sleep, eat, sweat, fish. That's what you do. And we love it. And if we didn't love it, we wouldn't be doing what we do. So
that's a really great point. And I love actually hearing your story, because there's so many people out there that, relate to you or think that they can relate to you or want to, like, I'm just going to drop everything or, whatever my circumstance is, and I'm going to become a guide. So as somebody who kind of made that switch and went through that, was that as easy as it sounds?
No, actually, it's very not as easy as it sounds, especially where I live in this area of the world. We're on the westernmost tip of Lake Superior. So we're in the Great Lakes region, as yourselves, Lake Michigan stuff. And if you want to be a fishing guide, the first step is you need to go out and get all the right credentials. And, that entails CPR and first aid, and you got to get your 6-pack captain's license, and you got to pay your special insurance compliance and all that stuff. A lot of people don't think about all those behind the scenes and those sort of things. And then, it's not, it's everything fishing, but it's everything revolved around fishing too. So it's the seminar we're doing this weekend, the Fish Talk tanks. It's writing in the Duluth News Tribune for me up here north. It's just, you find ways to punch fishing related stuff into any different platform you can. So, I mean, the social media stuff is still kind of new to, I kind of feel like I'm going to be 40 here next month. And I'm kind of that turning point from the old guys to the new guys, right? Because the new guys are all this internet, this TikTok and SnapWap and all these things that the kids are calling them. And I'm still trying to adapt to that. I mean, literally just got on the, what's it called? Instagram. Just learned how to do Instagram this summer. And so we've been trying to work at that. But when I started on Facebook, I mean, it was a college thing. I was in Bemidji State University in 2006, and that's where Facebook came for us. And now everything's like, it's a great platform for people to exercise when it comes to the fishing industry, of course. And we're still kind of learning it. So there's always something to be learned in this industry.
And there's a lot of people checking in that say that they feel old now, which I'm cracking up, because I guess me too. I remember back when Facebook, you could still put your dorm and room number in case people want to come find you on campus. That's pretty funny.
It got a little awkward when my mom joined Facebook and my grandpa. What the heck are you doing here?
But the cool thing about fishing is, those things, even some of those old tactics and stuff come back around or stay relevant. So it is amazing how much the world changes, and kind of fishing feels like it changes, but in some ways it doesn't have to.
Yeah. I just did a seminar last weekend for the Shamrock Productions. And one of the big topics we did in our seminar was bringing back old technology. So I asked the audience, I said, when's the last time you guys used a Daredevil? And one old guy, put his hand up. I use them all the time because he would, right? I mean, that's what he uses. But for the most part, everybody would have to go to their grandpa's old tackle box and blow off the dust and grab a Lazy Ike or a Daredevil and utilize that technology, because you just don't see that stuff on lakes utilized that much anymore. And that was kind of the point of the whole seminar, was we need to get back to some roots, because in all honesty, that is, again, brand new bait to a fish that hadn't seen it before, right? So I know with all the innovations and scientific property, chemical makeups of all the stuff they have with baits and stuff, sometimes going back to the basics is the best way to catch fish.
Yeah, actually, I love that. And I always talk about that same point. Like fish are always, interested in what's new, however you can catch their eye. But then if all of a sudden, like the whole buffet changes all the time, they're like still looking for the things that used to be on the menu. I mean, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, for sure. I know that you mentioned earlier that the wax worms and live bait, and I by all means keep our bait shops in business around here, because we won't go to the lake without meat at all, ever. And I'm like Josh, I want to use plastics and I want to use all the stuff that doesn't require that. But if the stuff that doesn't require meat's not working, I sure hope I got some live bait. So we always bring live bait with us.
Well, and that's a really important thing for people that guide, is having all of that together. For us that are like a little bit more than a weekend warrior, when you have your whole basement full of just tackle stuff and you can afford to just go use plastics and have bad days. Because I would say that more often than not, we probably have tough days. Like we'll catch fish, but it's like 4 fish, but then they'll be pretty decent fish. But then on the days that they are hitting really well, it's really nice because you can capitalize on not having to switch that live bait out. You can just keep throwing the bait out there and keep pulling the fish in.
Yeah.
But we have that luxury. We're not trying to put people on fish for money, and then they're like, "Wow, what the heck? You only got me 4 fish and you caught 3 of them." And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, he just has to go home with a grumpy wife if we don't do well.
That's true. That's my incentive.
It's honestly one of the most challenging conversations, is when a guy will call me, coming up to being springtime now, and he'll be like, Jarrid, I want to come up to the Twin Ports and I want to catch a limit of crappies. And I have to humbly tell him, you're going to want to call the next guy, because how can I guarantee a limit to crappies every time I go fishing? I mean, it's just, you can't. I mean, they're fun, and they're either on and they're off, or you get a couple. But I mean, if I was in the business of doing limits of crappies all the time, we're just not in my neck of the woods where I live. We don't have that kind of resource and whatnot. I've been to places where it's like that, but it's above the U.S. border into Canada.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. So as we are going through and talking here tonight, if there's anybody at home that has questions or comments or things along the way, definitely let us know what that is, because we will definitely love to talk about that with you as well. But I do have to ask, as far as your current conditions, you are still on ice. Is that true?
Yeah, it's actually quite cold right now. I got the temperature gauge right here, and it's 12 degrees and dropping. And so, I mean, we're not anywhere close to open water. We even had people fishing on Lake Superior in Duluth this last week, which is kind of a rare occasion. And we weren't out there because I don't encourage that, or not yet. I mean, but that wind will blow that ice out now. So the only open water opportunities that we'll have around here will be Lake Superior, starting pretty soon. But other than that, our inland stuff and the rivers, they'll be locked up for quite some time. So you can go pan fishing, and that's what we're going to be doing from here on out. I know that I got to give a shout out to a couple guys I had told to watch, Brent and Stewie, a couple of my trailer mates, when we go and kick around holes. I mean, what's better in this time of year when there's ice and you can take off your jacket and be in a sweatshirt and ice fish for panfish? I mean, that's one of the most fun experiences I enjoy, and I'm looking forward to the next 3-4 weeks of doing that.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun. And some of the things that people don't think about, because like myself included in this statement, like I'm getting pretty psyched to get the boat out and start jigging for walleyes and stuff. You know, the river's open. I'm seeing boat pictures. But when the panfish bite late ice is one, you usually don't have to walk very far from the landing because the fish are starting to move in shallow. All you have to do is get to the edge of the weeds and find the green weeds. And the ice is softer. So drilling a whole bunch of holes goes really fast, and it's really not so hard. There's a lot of ice, but it goes super fast because it's soft. Yeah. And so it just makes for an enjoyable day. You don't have, you can be out there without all your gear on. You can hop around. It's really nice.
Yep. And then if the conditions are right, the next day you don't even have to drill holes at all. You just go out there, right?
Yeah. You guys, all the things that you've mentioned, you haven't even mentioned my favorite part yet. Is when the holes aren't freezing up. Whenever I can put out any kind of a set rod, and I can just during the day just come back to it, watch it, not have to be like
putting
it
the
out
snare
all the
rods
time.
out.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a lot of things more fun than watching a cork or a snare rod and a set line bend over and know there's a fish and enjoying the sun all at the same time, right?
Yeah. If I can go into boating season with a based hand, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be sometime for us. I forecast we'll have open water here. I would say the second week into April, we'll probably start getting out our John boats and doing some, first crack panfish shoreline stuff. But down where you guys live, you guys got walleye opportunities all the time. Ours are closed, right? So we don't, everything up here, unless you go find walleyes on Lake Superior, all our walleye resources really close until the opener for Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. When does that happen then? Sorry, I don't know if you know offhand.
Yeah, so the regular game season will open the first Saturday in May for Wisconsin, and then it'll be the second Saturday in May for Minnesota. And our bread and butter, and what we guide about 85% of our guide trips on the St. Louis River, that opens the second weekend in May. So we're going to be, chewing at the bit. I got a Lund boat being delivered this week, so I'm looking forward to getting that rigged up and rocking. But coincidentally, I got to get down to the sports show and pick up some graphs for my good friends at Hummingbird and stuff. So this is going to be convenient, but there's a lot of pre-work. Any fisherman that is into this game knows what I'm talking about when it's the homework and getting prepared. So there's a lot of preparedness that needs to happen here before we get to that next season.
So are you like setting up your whole boat yourself, like electronics and everything?
I'd like to say I'm that smart, but I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the good guys at RJ Sport and Cycle, I work with the Hermanson Boat Group from Lund Boats, and they do the rigging for us, and us pro staffers. I mentioned Troy Peterson is a Lund pro staffer earlier, and for me it's up here it's Billy Rostner and we go through that shop, and Grant Sorensen, and they do a fantastic, tremendous job of getting our stuff ready to rock for us. So
that's really awesome. Excellent. I could not do my own electronics either, I don't think. That's a lot of wire to run.
Well, and these kids, they're like computer heads. They're so fast and efficient at it. And it's funny because they'll start talking about how they're rigging, and they'll use these scientific terms like, the thermocoupler, this and that, the flex capacitor. I'm like, I just pretend, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I totally do not know what they're talking about when they start, getting into the weeds.
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. So as we are looking forward to, I guess, open water season and that, preparing all of this, I mean, a lot of our panfish stuff really can kind of carry over to that from ice to open water. Do you find that to be true for you also?
Yeah, 100%. A couple of key points we're going to make in our seminars. I'm not going to give away all the seminar topic stuff, right? You don't want to do that because you want people to come, but it'll be utilizing ice fishing technology in summer applications, right? I mean, a lot of people go out and they get their little chunk of worm and put it on a little red hook with a split shot under a bobber, there's nothing wrong with that. But, there's a lot of lures that are very advantageous through the ice that we use, anything from tungsten, gill getters to mud bugs or whatnot. Northland makes a whole tremendous amount of panfish stuff from our engineers, and Brian Brosdahl and those guys create that stuff. And honestly, you should use that stuff in the summertime just as much as if not more, than you do in the winter. And so, yeah, there'll be and then the locations. Josh kind of hit on it, green weeds and stuff. That stuff's happening now. Photosynthesis is a thing. I'm not a scientist or a biologist, but I can I do know enough that there's green weeds, there's bug hatches happening every day, and as the water warms up and the sun's getting higher in the air and staying warmer all day long, lots of stuff's moving right now and making, taking shape. So it'll be fun. Sometimes you get off that last ice bite and you're out really on fish. That's the very first place we're going to go when we get back to open water, because those fish didn't really do anything. They just, they stayed there for the most part. And we're kind of looking forward to that.
That's always actually a really good point. In winter, I sometimes forget to use enough of my spoons. And especially going into summer, especially right in summer, actually, there's times where you can vertical jig fish, and all of those winter spoons would be like perfect to use then. And I always forget to bring them out.
Yeah. Spoons, plastics, lines. That's the other thing is people, if you got, for me, I don't like to have old line from last year on there. So that's going to be changed out, especially when you're talking panfish, right? Very small diameter, 2 pound to 3-4 pound line. That stuff you really want to change out a lot, because that's pretty fragile if you let it sit in the garage all winter or whatever.
Yeah, that is actually true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it always works for like the first few fish, but then you catch into like the good one that you like really want to get up, and then that's when something goes wrong, and then you're cursing it all. And that's a good thing. Just take care of ahead of time. That's funny. So when we are looking forward to the expo this weekend, I imagine it might not be panfish tactics that you're doing when you are at the tank. So can you talk maybe a little bit about the tank and what you will be doing there?
The tank is arguably one of my favorite things to do when I do these sports shows, and it's because it's multi-species, right? They got everything in there, except for like sturgeon. There might be a muskie. They've definitely had pike in there, bass, sunfish, crappie, and walleye, of course. One of my favorite things, last time we were up there 2 years ago or whatever it was, they had about a 7-pound walleye, and it was sitting right underneath me, and she must have been just, she's older, right? She's smarter than the other fish, because the other fish would chase my bait, but I would just put the lure right on her nose and she wouldn't even move. It was so funny. And everybody, the crowd, you can woo, cool. But this 7-pound walleye was so stationary, just sitting there with gills flaring and fins going like this, and just bouncing a jig right off her nose is pretty neat. So we have to use barbless hooks, right? So we're not allowed to really catch them, although some of us we give them a little bit of time to swallow, not swallow, but sometimes we like to hold fish. So we like to try our best to get them out of the water and whatever. But the whole point of this big fish tank is to show and tell new lures, right? And for me, I'll be throwing a lot of new impulse plastics from Northland Fishing Tackle, and stuff like that, and show the action, the profiles, the colors, the variety, and watching how fish respond to them, right? So every lure will be catered to a different fish. So we'll throw out some stuff for panfish, we'll throw out some stuff for the bass, we'll throw out some stuff for the walleyes that probably won't bite, but that's the whole purpose of it. And if you've never seen this thing before, it's pretty overwhelming. The only thing that I don't like about it, Emily and Josh, is climbing the ladder to get to the top, because I'm afraid of heights. And then once you're on top of there and you look over the plateau of the whole sports arena, you just see a bunch of heads looking right at you, because you got this headset on, right? So you're talking, and you feel kind of like Madonna or Britney Spears. And everybody just kind of congregates to this fish tank because they know something's going to happen. This guy's going to catch, go fishing. And that's the only thing that's overwhelming, is being afraid of the heights and looking down and seeing a bunch of, I guess if I fell, I'd be crowd surfing. So it wouldn't be that bad, right? But it's quite an experience. It's a lot of fun. And I'm happy you guys are going to be able to see what it's all about.
You just have to make sure that you fall forward. Like, can you swim?
There's two things. I should probably wear a life jacket, and I should probably buy my fishing license, because I haven't renewed that either. So I think that's in order as well.
They like check you on your way up just to make sure.
Years
no,
past,
it's barbless hooks. I'm not actually catching them.
In years past, you're able to buy your fishing license at the venue, so that's pretty nice. Yeah,
that is
so
nice.
the DNR station will be there. You can go there, and for you too, you can get your Minnesota license, your spouse license, or whatever, and everything will be done there. So it's nice.
Well, I have my lifetime license, so I might as well renew it.
Good.
Yeah.
You have to get your own.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm like jealous. We do always get Minnesota licenses though, so I guess 'tis the season. We do have Matt Stewart checking in. Ask him about my stew baits.
Yeah, so Matt's he's guided with us for a number of years up here in the Twin Ports, and he actually creates his own plastics, right? And he calls them stew baits. His name's Matthew Stewart, and so his last name, he just got creative and said, "Well, we'll just call it stew baits." I'm like, "That's a good. I mean, it's kind of a good name, I thought." So, but he comes up with a lot of different colors and profiles and actions and stuff, and his bread and butter certainly is a panfish angler. He's a very smart soft plastics angler, and so he likes to make and sell his own baits. So yeah,
That is
look him
fun.
up. He's on Facebook. Yeah.
We are tackle crafters also, so like we love all that kind of stuff. Do you do that kind of stuff?
No, I just buy. I buy stew baits from Matt, and I get stuff from Northland and the gamut of all the different lure manufacturers. I'm not, I'm biased, of course, to some manufacturers, but I am not afraid to try other people's stuff because I enjoy and love people's innovative approach to making stuff. So,
Well, and soft plastics for the people that don't know, you cannot get a better plastic in any part of the fishing world than hand poured plastics. Just because, if you don't know already, the store bought plastics plastic has to be heated hotter in order to produce that many baits to sell in places like Cabela's and Bass Pro, Walmart. And so the plastic is just harder. That's just how it is. They have to use that type of plastic. Hand poured plastics that people do in their basement or in their garage, it can be a lot softer, but still be very durable. And so if you have not, type in soft plastics into the Facebook search bar, and you can find all kinds of options, and you can find anything that your heart will desire. I promise.
Yeah, that's probably true. It looks like Josh is actually pulling it up on our other screen here. So,
We're gonna see.
so that is kind of fun. I'm like getting distracted and watching. I'm like interested in what these baits like. So as soon as he pulls it up, we can certainly share that out with you guys. But I guess as far as ice or open water, do you have like go-to baits or presentations or colors?
This comes up often, and I use the same answer all the time. Everybody says, "What's your favorite color?" To me, it's gold. And I think the number one reason is because there's not a water clarity or water color, whether it's algae covered green, if it's coffee stained, if it's gin clear as the air. Gold works in all applications to me. So I like those hard colors, blacks, golds, oranges, stuff like that. My dad, he'll never not use a chartreuse green. That's he will never not use that. And that's another color that you can use everywhere. But, for me, it's gold, Emily, for sure.
Yeah, actually, that's actually, I think last ice season I had a little gold tungsten on my favorite rod like the entire season. I don't think I even ever changed it.
Yeah. Well, and not to let anything out of the box, but when Northland comes up and we do a couple of YouTube things, all I'm using is gold, whether it's a gold coffin spoon or whatever for walleyes or salmon and trout through the ice. And then we'll have to do a shoot with different colors, but those are just the show. I'm not actually fishing with them all that often, so it's honestly it's gold for me.
We have Ray checking in. Hello to you. Steve is saying fresh beaver tail works awesome. Try it. That's not something I really have access to, but I do know beaver tail baits. Andrew Gullickson, that is some pretty awesome stuff. That is way more ready to go than me catching a beaver. And it's a lot closer to, I know it's not live bait, but as far as like having meat with you, that is definitely something that I just can never keep bait alive.
Yeah, the the beaver tail stuff that I've met him before. That's very creative, and I think it's awesome. It's got great texture. It's very soft, and it's got a real flimsy action in the water. It's really good stuff.
A few more people checking in that also love gold. So Tony, Vince is saying gold jig in a minnow here on the Fox, so that's coming up. And Joe is saying to tell you that the sturgeon surgeon is here. I'm interested. What is that?
Joey, that's Joey Mitchell and Vince and those are the guys that go fishing down your neck of the woods here coming up pretty quick and Joe, he caught a sturgeon one day, and so he has to remind us every single time we see him about it, including right now, obviously. But he's so he's a sturgeon surgeon because it was big. It was like a 60-inch or something, and he caught it on 6-pound tests and a jig and a minnow or something. So he's caught a couple of them actually. So I mean, yeah.
I was gonna say twice, right as you said, yeah.
Oh, there you go, yeah, twice. And I know the last one he caught, I had to like put my arms around it and hug it like a bear to get it into the boat. That was one of those fun, very memorable trips. So coming down to the Fox and O'Connell and Peshtigo and Lake Michigan there, that early stuff that's coming up pretty quick. That's the funnest part for me is being with my buddies and my family and doing some fishing with them. So it's our kind of our break between seasons.
Yeah, that is always really fun. And down here, we actually don't have the season closed for walleye. So as long as you're within the regulation, I know on the Wolf, it went down from 5 to 3 fish. So, make sure that you're doing or throw them back, because it's fun. Just go out there and find them and catch them and let them go. But it is really a great place to be able to kind of come on down here and fill the gap between the other fishing seasons otherwise.
Is it the one fish on the Fox still? Has that changed that you know of?
You know what? Honestly, I would have to look up that regulation because I'm a little bit more familiar with the Wolf end of things. It looks like Josh might try to look that up over here.
Well, and you bring up a good point though, Emily. I mean, it's kind of like a hot bluegill bite. What's more vulnerable than panfish going off, right? And the walleyes in the springtime are the same way. So anglers need to really pay attention to what's important, and that's the catch and release factor. For us, it's going down there and catching fish. That's it. You know what I mean? We don't even keep them, and we're looking forward to just having the experiences of having our first long rod bends of the year, and that's it for us.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And sometimes these conditions of these open water season, it still kind of feels like ice season, but be careful at the launches. There might still be ice there and all of that. So, we're talking about, be careful on the waterways and stuff, but even the trips out there. I mean, with your first time that you're getting the boat out, and especially people dunking into the river, make sure that your engine starts. Those sound like silly things until you're like floating down the river. That would be terrible.
Yeah. And make sure you put your plug in your boat, right, Joe?
Yeah, you got to charge it before you go out. It's like, oh gosh, my ice shack, I do not have to charge.
Yeah, and sliding down the ramp, right? Because the concrete can freeze some water on there, and that gets a little slippery. So you got to be kind of careful. I know the Rainy River up by I Falls there, some guys bring sand or cat litter with them. In just in case that situation presents itself.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point. Like this time of year, just expect a little bit of a wait at the boat launch. Everybody is a little bit rusty and you just trying to get back into the rhythm of things. But also, myself, I just like to let the boat drain extra good. I just like to let all the water out of it, just so it's basically just barely dripping when I pull it up the landing, and that helps prevent a lot of that ice buildup and saves a lot of keisters.
Yeah, our good friend GP Gary Parsons, he taught me one day. He said, turn the key over for 1 second, so it's it puffs out that air. That's that last drop of water in your engine, and then turn it off right away. I always enjoyed that nice knowledge from him, the master.
Yeah, he is a master, that's for sure. Oh gosh, so we're talking about the boat, but I guess I am a little bit more interested in the end of your ice season. For the people who are still kind of on ice, I actually never even asked what were your conditions. Do you still have snow? How is travel? Like, can you get
Yeah,
out to these places?
we got quite a bit of snow here. I guess it must have been 10 days ago now, but it's hung around. We haven't had a lot of real warm days that has depleted our snow. If you're a snowmobiler, the trails are pristine. You know what I mean? If you want to come up and hit the trails of Douglas County, Wisconsin, or northeast Minnesota, you're in luck because we got a lot of snow. As far as ice goes, we also got that snow on the ice, right? So that's going to get kind of wet as the sun starts getting a little up in the air and warmed up. But as far as conditions, it's, the forecast, the future forecast, because us as anglers, we check it every day. It looks awesome, right? It looks like it's going to be very, very nice. With that being said, I expect a lot of slush, like you guys are probably dealing with down there now. That's going to be don't go out without your rubber boots sort of deal, and whatnot. But we have quite a bit of ice. It's going to take a little while to get it all gone. But and it is March. We're still kind of early March, so up here you never know what to expect because we could have snow all the way through April. Honestly, it's not unheard of to get a big snowstorm at the end of March where we're going to get another plop with another 10 inches or something. So who knows? But at that point, I'll be down in your neck of the woods anyway. So,
Well, and if we were talking about getting in the boat, but if you did want to get on the ice here, we actually don't have any snow. We just got done with 1.5 inches of rain, just above the Highway 29 corridor in south. And so all of our snow is pretty much gone, and you need your cleats on.
yeah.
It is like a skating rink. So don't push your sled too far because it'll just keep going.
But that is really interesting, because since we are having our shores melt and all of that, and that rain off is pushing under the ice, that does leave our fish in quite a different position than maybe where fish by you are. So a lot of times we talk about kind of that trend by area. But would you guys still say that you're holding in that winter pattern, or are fish kind of starting to be spring minded?
Yeah, it's definitely lake dependent. We have a lot of deep basin lakes, and at this point, we do have Roman basin fish. And if you were going to go out and I'd say the majority of our lakes, we haven't had our fish slide up all that much yet. So we're behind you guys when it comes to progress and whatnot. So if you're looking for some panfish and whatever, because our season's closed, of course, that's the only thing you chase. I would certainly recommend that you go out and you fish those basins, whether it's a big mud flat or whatnot. But the beauty of it all is if you find a fish, they're pretty schooled up, so you can really kind of sit on them and fish them. With that being said, it's always important to mention that if you're going to fish those deep basins and you're a conservation-minded guy, like I am, reeling up a bunch of fish from deep water is not good for the fish. So you really got to pay attention to that. I tend to reel them up very slow to help them out if I can, because none of us want to kill a real big panfish. And so whether it's a small one or a big one, we always take our time in the retrieve. But all the same, if we're really just beating them to death and the mortality rate's high, we're just going to kind of leave them alone. But it'll be pretty soon. We'll be sliding up to those edges. I mean, they're kind of getting there, but we got a lot of mud bugs happening from deep water still. So I mean, we're fishing crappies over deep basins and some panfish with them as well. So it's been we'll continue to do that. And as we get near the very end of the ice season, that stuff will slide up to the shallow, the green weeds and stuff like that, where you brought up a good point. You're going to have a lot of water coming off the shorelines, which in turn, guess what, makes oxygen, right? So that's going to turn up a lot of stuff there, and fish are going to congregate to those fresh oxygen so they can breathe and eat, and lots of moving pieces of parts in those situations. So we're almost there, but not there yet.
Well, and you also bring up a good point, Emily, being that we do have two different situations. If you can find some of those snow down by us, where we're a little bit further along, but not too far from you, find those snow piles and drill around those snow piles. Don't drill through them, but you can drill around them. And those are good places to check, especially when the sun starts getting higher up in the springtime here.
Yeah.
Just because those fish like to congregate in the little dark shadows. And
Yep.
there are pockets. If you look all over, and you only need like 1 or 2 holes around that pocket to see if there's fish there, and then just move to the next one. That's a really fun time too if you can get on that bite.
Great tip.
I'm just a little bit inspired that you said that when you can find the school, you can sit on them for like a hot minute, because every time I find them, they are like moving on faster than my jig can even get down there.
Yeah. Well, ours, for the most part, they just, you kind of create your own school of fish, right? So when you're reeling up a fish real slow from a deep basin, his buddies are seeing that. And what happens is they just, what's he eating, right? So they all kind of come together and just reel them up, the bigger your school can get. So, I mean, if you're, the tricky part, though, is the year classes, because we tend to have some fish. I mean, you guys probably can relate. The bigger, unicorn type bluegills and stuff like that will not indulge in such a practice as those other little ones. So those are the ones you're looking for. You're going to want to try something different, or that's going to be literally a diamond in the rough, right? So.
Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. Oh my gosh. Awesome. So as we are, talking about all these fabulous things, and I'm looking forward to, seeing you at the expo this weekend. You do have that great speaking opportunity, and watching you on the tank. Are you around like at a booth or anything if people just want to come and visit you?
Yeah. So technically I'm down there representing Northland Fishing Tackle. And, of course, my other sponsors and pro staff obligations is with Blackfish, Lund Boats, Vexlar, and Clam, and I'll be supporting anybody I can in such a capacity. But I'll be, for the most part, hanging around with the Marine General guys. The Marine Generals, of course, I'm a little biased. They're our Duluth company here, and that's our baby when it comes to product, retail and stuff like that. But I believe they're still the #1 retailer for the Great Lakes system, because they sell a lot of stuff out to Lake Huron and Lake Erie. Lots of stuff gets shipped from up here in Duluth out to those areas of the world. And so it'll be fun to be in their booth again. And other than that, it'll be the fish tank, and it'll be in the seminar room. So yeah, I'll be around.
That is really awesome. And then you were talking about like guiding. Do you still have guide trips available for the coming season?
No, we don't. We've been getting calls, because lots of people like to call at the last second and see if they can ghost a trip in. But we've been done now for a couple weeks, and that's pretty typical for us. We kind of like to take a little breather after. Ice guiding is about as hard a work as you think, as you can imagine. And
some people cannot imagine.
Yeah, it's unbelievable amount of work. You just can't just get in the boat and move locations in a boat. Here you got to pack up and load the snowmobile back up and do this and start all over, and then you get home and you got to unpack and repack, and Brandy, my wife, she just watches me and says, "You're nuts," because I mean, sometimes you spend most of your time getting ready, and then what the heck just happened in a day, right? When you're done, it's like, what did I do? That was a lot of work. So yeah, we're done with guide trips. Our first guide trips will be early May, but we'll be really busy right off the bat. Just like anywhere else in the world, that first crack at open water fish is very hot for us, and we'll be booking summer trips. So we are booking summer trips now, and I'm sure I'll get the phones have already been ringing, so that's been great. But we're trying to relax a little bit as years pass. We've kind of, I don't like over exhausting myself that much anymore. I like to enjoy fishing, right?
Yeah, got through it.
Yeah, exactly. So I never wanted to make a job out of it or make it work, and we haven't done that, and I don't want to do that. So I'm not trying to guide 365 days a year, and more or less about 65 to 100 days a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if anybody is interested in a summer trip, though, this is the perfect time to be planning for that. And, if people are interested in, your adventures kind of through the process until then, I know you said you weren't like a big social media person, but do you have a place that people can follow you?
Yeah, we do have a Facebook page. It's just real simple, Houston's Guide Service. And we have a website, houstonsguideservice.com, and our Instagram is Houston's Guide Service. So it's pretty simple stuff. I'm fortunate to have such an easy name, Houston, just like the city. And lots of people always say, "Are you related to Jimmy Houston?" And I'm not.
Distantly.
Yeah, sometimes I mess with people and say, "Oh yeah, he's my uncle or something." But my maybe somewhere down the line I meet him someday. I've never met him, but at this sports show coming up this weekend, there'll be a lot of big celebrity household names under that roof, and it's pretty cool that I'll be following up behind Babe Winkleman, which makes me a little nervous, right? So he gets to go on the big stage and do a seminar, and then I have to go. Come on, you know what I mean? And
it's gonna be awesome. I won't even show up for his, and then you'll get up there, and I'll be like clapping out. It'll be awesome.
It's been real successful for me the years I've done it, because everybody, I'm still a young guy in the industry, and I'm humble enough and whatever. And I'm not trying to, we talk about growing this sport or growing your career organically. That's a big thing for us. And I think that's, I wholeheartedly believe that's one of the reasons they ask us to come do it, because we've never tried to, be something we're not. And so to be on that same stage, and, Ron Scherer and Steve Pennes and all those guys, it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome for my wife and I, and our small little endeavor and goal in our life. And we look forward to sharing all that information and continuing to grow in this industry and so forth and so forth.
Awesome. Well, and we look forward to sharing it with you and kind of following along on social media, because I heard that you're getting more and more into it each day.
Yeah, I can type like 30 words a minute now.
But I have to say, being on this live podcast was a great step in the right direction. So we appreciate you being here, and we had a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. I know that we share a couple JT. I forgot to mention JT, and you guys are JT, right? So that's fun. We'll be bringing our rods down there in our seminar, so we'll do some demos with those, and I'll be on the fish tank with some JT sticks and whatever. But looking forward to meeting you in person, both of you. So I can't wait to see you in Viking country.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And to the people at home, we hope to see you out at the expo this weekend too, because we are really excited. It sounds like it's going to be a ton of fun, and we cannot wait for everything that's going to be there. But if you can't get there, the good news is we are going to be able to bring some of that to you guys. So stay tuned, and we'll see what we can, get out there. And otherwise, we'll talk about it next week, and can't wait to see you on that edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.